Everybody, I'm Marleen, the orchestra music arranger for the Kunste Fabriek Orkes Projek, and I've got a few tips on learning a lot of music in a short period of time. So, it is 1 week to the first orchestra rehearsal. Why do I need to know most of my music before the rehearsal? First, orchestra rehearsal is there to put the orchestra together. We can't practice individual parts in the orchestra, so there won't be time for that in the rehearsal. Also, if you only practice a few pieces for this week, you have to work this hard again for next week to practice a few other pieces. So we're going to try to practice all of our music this week before the first rehearsal. Okay, parents, please help your children with this. This is a great investment in your child's musical future. You won't get another orchestra project that works this way. And it's a great investment for your child. Okay. So here's my few tips to practice a lot of music in a short period of time. The first thing you're going to do is without your music. Listen to the soundtrack. They're there for a reason. I worked hard on them. I'm very proud of them. So listen to that soundtrack. Now, what you will and will not hear on that soundtrack. You will probably not hear your own part. You may hear your section, so listen out for perhaps the violins, the flutes, the woodwinds, the percussion. Listen out for that. Get the overall feel of the piece, get the overall structure of the piece. Okay, the violins are playing in the beginning, the flutes and the woodwinds are coming in the second part and so on. Get the idea of the entire piece. Count your pieces and decide how many pieces you're going to practice each day. For instance, you can practice 2 pieces each day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. You'll probably be finished by Tuesday. So you can practice some of the difficult pieces again on Friday. You can practice 3 pieces a day, you can practice 4 pieces a day. Each one will have a different result. It will depend on how difficult the pieces are for you. Perhaps you will practice 3 pieces one day and 2 pieces the second day. Just work out the scheme, so don't practice less than 2 pieces each day. Next thing, you have to decide on how much time you've got for each piece each day. Orchestra rehearsal is 3 hours long, so it will be good to build up some endurance. You don't have to practice 3 hours long, but I won't say don't practice less than 15 minutes on each piece. There are some pieces that might be very easy for you. You've only got a few bars of playing, so play through it a few times and then leave it out because there are other more difficult pieces. Also remember, just playing through is not really practicing, so make sure you're working on small sections, sort out small rhythms and so on, but you're not going to do that now. You're just sorting out your piece. You are planning what you're going to do. Okay, when you've got your plan, how many pieces you're going to practice each day and how long you're going to practice those pieces, you're going to write it down and put it up somewhere where everybody can see it, because this is going to be your priority for this week and this coming term. Okay. Then it's time to make sense out of your music. If orchestra music is new to you, you might see a few things you don't see in solo repertoire. So for instance, there's this video by the Crazy Brothers. It's very helpful. They talk about multi-rests, they talk about key signature and time signature changes, and they talk about pause marks. I think they talk about pause marks. So multi-rests are those stuff. It's the thick bar with a number on top. So you have to check out your time signature. In this case it's 3/4 time, and then you've got 9 bars of rest in 3/4 time. So how to do that? It's a very good thing. Look to your conductor, look up at your conductor while you're doing this, and make sure you've got the same tempo as they do. It doesn't help if you're counting out your bars, but it's in a different tempo than the conductor. For this instance it's 3/4, so you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. At first you can count out loud, but if the entire orchestra will be counting out loud in a very soft passage, it will be sounding very funny. So try to count to yourself in the end, but make sure you're going to check with your conductor how fast you're going to count that. Okay? Now you're going to listen to the soundtrack again. And remember, this part of our planning is all without your instrument. And now you're going to follow along in your music. So you're going to count out those multi-rests, make sure you're coming in the right spot, making sure you're going to start practicing looking up at your pause signs. Your pause sign is that little arc over a dot. It might be over a note, it might be over a rest. So check that out. Okay, and then you're going to follow along in your music and enjoy it. Now, next thing you're going to do is get your instrument and listen to the soundtrack again of the piece you're about to play. You should have been listening through all of the soundtracks at some stage. Perhaps do that this afternoon or this evening. So then you're going to follow along again, you're going to count along again, and you're going to check out the parts that look difficult. You might not be able to hear your own part, as I said before. Now, if you mark the difficult passages in your music, you're going to practice that first. And maybe you only have time to practice the most difficult parts. I know that happens to me a lot. I play a lot of orchestra projects, so perhaps you'll only have time for the most difficult parts. Okay, then the easy parts is actually the most fun, because it's really easy. You only got a few notes, you've got long notes or something. So first thing you should do with that is make sure you're enjoying it. Make sure you are playing with a good sound and good intonation, and you're counting correctly, and that's going to save a lot of time in the orchestra rehearsal. Okay, other important thing, I've been talking about that now, is practice looking up. So at your pause signs, at any place like a rehearsal mark, that big capital letters A, B, C and so on, at any pause sign, multi-rest, anything, practice looking up. And you're going to do that in front of a mirror, because it's very important when you're about to catch your cue from the conductor to make eye contact with the conductor. So you're going to look up, make eye contact with yourself for that split second, and then look back again at your music. It's also very important to find your spot again after looking up. So I think that's why some people are scared of looking up, because they're afraid that they're going to lose their place. But you can get your place again after looking up. The reason you should make eye contact is it doesn't help if the conductor is looking at you and you look up for a split second but you flinch. You don't want to look into the conductor's eyes, and that doesn't help, because in that split second you're going to lose the conductor's cue. So make sure you look up, make eye contact and look back. Okay. For tempos, don't practice too fast. Actually practice everything quite slow. I know you've been listening to the soundtrack a lot, and the soundtrack is in concert tempo. That's the tempo that we want to end up with. But that might not be the tempo that you can play the piece at, and that might not be the tempo the conductor will be doing the piece in at the beginning. It's a work in progress, so that's the tempo we want in the end. So I'm not saying play along with your backtrack or soundtrack. If you can, do that by all means, but first practice slow and in small sections. Alright, then a few troubleshooting things. You might say, my piece I'm playing, of my part in the orchestra doesn't sound like the song. You're correct, it's not supposed to. The less your part sounds like the song, the more important you are. So you're either the bass line or you are one of the middle voices, and they are so important. So make sure your intonation is good, make sure you're counting correctly, and make sure you're listening very, very good to yourself, and repeat that, because you are very important. Also, a thing about intonation. I know most music teachers don't like that their students play in this way, but this is my tip: practice with a tuner. If you don't have a tuner, go buy one today. And put it on, make sure it's on 440, because our tune percussion and our piano is tuned in 440, and then you can check up on yourself. Don't look at it all the time because it's not very encouraging always, but just get an idea of where your intonation tend to go, especially if you've got sharps or flats that's difficult to get the intonation of, is difficult on your instrument, for instance. On bassoon, for me, it will be a G or an E flat or a C sharp or something. Get to know those notes that tend to be flat or sharp, and then you can work around that. So that's my tip. Okay, there's another troubleshoot. If your piece is too difficult, it's fine. Try to go for a lesson this week, ask a friend, or if all else fails for this week or coming week or whatever, leave it out for now, but please tell the conductor a day in advance. If you really cannot get that piece now, you need a little bit more time for it. And the reason you're going to tell the conductor is then if some entire section is struggling with a piece, she can leave the piece out until everybody has settled it for now. Right. Then there's this other problem you might have is you don't like the piece. I know I get with myself that I don't like a piece pretty much until the first rehearsal, and then I find out there's something I like. So try to find something you like while listening to the soundtracks. Don't just dislike a piece because it's difficult. Find a little phrase, a little entry, a little drum solo. Find something that's interesting and you can listen out for. Right. Now, very important thing, no matter how this week will go, you might struggle, it might be a lot of work to do, you might have to leave off visiting some friends because you're prioritizing your music. Please come to the orchestra rehearsal with a positive mindset. We can help you a lot with your music, I can help you over the phone, I can help you anyway. But please, I can help you with your music, but I can't really help you with your attitude. So plan to have a lot of fun with the rehearsal and don't come, oh, this is going to be so bad. Also, if you feel you can't keep up, if the parts are strange or something, there's this magical thing that happens when the entire orchestra plays together. You get pulled along because this orchestra is made up of more experienced players who've been playing for 5 years, 6 years, some have been playing for 10 years, 12 years, and they're going to pull you along if you're not that experienced. And that's really a magical thing that happens. I really look forward to hear you do that. Very important thing, get enough rest before the rehearsal. Don't come overworked. Don't come after a night of watching movies. Come well rested. And the first rehearsal might feel like chaos. It's not supposed to be perfect. I have never been at the perfect first rehearsal at any orchestra project I've ever played in. So don't expect it to be perfect. Expect a lot of chaos, a lot of fun. So please work hard this week, but come planning to have fun at the first rehearsal. See you there.